What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Spoiling Movies Under the Green Hood Edition. Once again, my name is Chris, and I'm going to talk about a movie that I just recently rewatched, and I'm going to tell you all about it, and I'm going to spoil it for you. Before I do, though, I'd like to tell you that I really recommend this completely. Straight up from the beginning, I want to tell you all that I feel like this is a required watching movie. It may just be my crazy opinion and nostalgia, but I absolutely love it. I'm talking about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yeah, that's right. I love it. It's a childhood favorite of mine. I haven't watched it in many, many years, and I just rewatched it, and I had a fucking great time watching it. So let's get into it. At the beginning, there's great Danny Elfman music. So great. Tim Burton is the director. I totally forgot that he directed it, but it totally makes sense after you think about how the movie actually works and how it looks and everything. So opening shots, Pee-wee is on his cool bike, and he is in the Tour de France. And he's kicking ass, he's beating all the other guys. He gets to the end, and he's got first place. The people are putting him on their shoulders and carrying him off to where he's gonna get a trophy or something, but they're about to put a crown on him, and the crown is like coming down. Lady's about to put the crown on his head, and then you hear a or an alarm noise that's not that noise, and then he wakes up. It was a dream. And then you get to see Pee-wee waking up in his crazy room. It's got toys everywhere, and he like pulls a string or a lever or something and starts a Rube Goldberg machine that is going to make him breakfast. For those who don't know what a Rube Goldberg machine, it's one of those where it's like a thing attached to another thing that's attached to another thing that'll knock over a thing and set another thing, and it just like, it keeps doing interesting stuff until it finishes with the desired result. And he's like playing with his toys. He puts on little bunny slippers, and he's got his little bunny slippers on, and he's like, nom, 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 nom. Nom nom nom. He's like acting like the little bunnies are eating shit on the ground. It's adorable. There's so many cool looking things in the background of his house. All kinds of little toys. There's like statues of like dinosaurs and weird shit everywhere. So while he's waiting for his weird machine to make him breakfast, and we get to see all the little weird things that are happening, he goes into the restroom, and he is brushing his teeth with an oversized toothbrush, and he's got he puts get a bunch of toothpaste all over his mouth, and he's like, yeah, Mad Dog! And then right when he's about to leave the bathroom, he's like, oh, he has a look on his face like, oh, I forgot to do something. And he grabs a roll of Scotch tape and like tapes his nose up. So then just in the mirror going, So the machine finishes, and he's got like a pancake with like 2 eggs for eyes and like some kind of nose and bacon for a mouth, 2 bacon strips for a mouth. And he says, hello, Mr. Breakfast! And he's like, hello, Pee-wee! He like moves the bacon mouth. And then he decides to put Mr. T cereal all over the plate. He just dumps a whole big pile of Mr. T cereal. And he's like, I pity the fool! And then he like nibbles one of the little cornflake Mr. T things off the top of the pile. And he's like, wipes his mouth, and he's done. After all of that, after the whole machine just did all that stuff, he just eats like one cornflake thing. So he goes outside, and he's gonna get his bike. So he puts in like a secret code on the side of the house. There's this interesting little panel that opens up, and he's like, beep, beep, boop, 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 boop. Closes it, it's like, beep, 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 beep. And then like some fake bushes open up a secret hole where his magical, amazing bike is, and there's like wah 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 wah. And as he's kind of walking out with his bike, this dude shows up, and his name is Francis, and he's like, hey, Pee-wee, my dad said I can have anything I want because it's my birthday, and I want that bike. And he's like, well, you can't have it, Francis. It's not for sale. And Francis is like, everything's negotiable. So he's gonna like give him a whole bunch of money for it. And he's like, no, I'm not taking your money. And then they have this interesting back and forth. And there's so many like iconic lines. To me, they are very memorable and iconic. Like, I know you are, but what am I? And I don't know if that originated like in previous Pee-wee movies or from the show, but this is where I mostly remember it from. So, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? And he says something, and Francis is like, make me. And he's like, I don't make monkeys, I just train them. Pee-wee sees some BMX kids doing some tricks like in a park while he's riding his bike, and he decides he wants to try and do it. So he does like little bunny hops, and then he's passing by like a group of kids, and so he's like sticking his legs off the side and like trying to look cool and do like a trick and like spin all the way around. But he fails and like runs into a yard and like falls off the bike. And he's friends with all of these BMX kids. Then he gets into town where there's a lot of shops, like a strip mall area, and he hooks his special bike. He doesn't hook it up to a spot where all the other bikes are. He hooks it up to a mechanical clown. There's like a robot clown, and it's just like doing that. And he decides to pull out an enormous chain, a crazy long chain, wrap it around the clown robot thing. So he goes into the magic shop. There's all kinds of like interesting masks and little knickknacks and things, and he wants to get some weird like magic stuff. So he's looking around on the shelf, pulling stuff off, messing with it, and he grabs some X-ray glasses, and there's some lady that's like looking at him weird in the shop, and he like grabs the X-ray glasses and like puts them on and like looks over at her, and he's like, She's like, what the fuck? The owner of the shop guy is like, I got some new stuff in, you want to see it? And he pulls out like some weird stuff, and one of them's like a shrunken head, and he's like, nah, I don't want that. And he's like, a regular size head? And he's like, nah. And then he pulls out a giant head, and he's like, mwah! And he's like, ah! But he ends up getting some trip gum and a headlight glasses. So then next, he leaves and goes to the bike shop, where there is this lady that has been working on a horn for him to make a super loud bike horn. She's really into him. There's a bunch of the BMX kids that are in there, and they're like leaving, like, oh, it's getting hot in here, Pee-wee. All right, take it easy, because like he knows that the girl is into him, and he's like turning her down and shit. She's asking to like take me to a drive-in, and he's like, no, Dottie. You can't be like that. I'm a loner. I'm a rebel. And once he got his horn, he goes back out and sees that his bike is missing. It's not attached to the clown anymore, and he starts freaking out, and then like the music, now the clown's face has like angry eyes, and it's like, ha 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 ha. So he goes back into the bike shop, and he's like, help, or something, and he hits the loud ass horn, and he goes, and he falls over, and he knocks down a whole bunch of bikes. He walks out, and he sits on like a bench, and then he just sees like, everything he sees is people on bikes, enjoying bikes, just every type of bike. There's like one of those weird ones with the giant front wheel and the little wheel. There's like a little toy one. There's just like regular ones, and like tricycles and unicycles, just cycles of all different kinds. And he's got bike envy. So he decides to go to Francis's big mansion, the guy that told him he wanted to get the bike in the beginning. He knocks on the mansion door, and this big dude answers. Pee-wee's like, where's Francis? And the guy's like, he's taking his bath. Well, let me talk to him. He's like, no. He shuts the door. And he does it again. And then he says, no. He puts a little fake knocker on the door. It's this interesting little fake knocker that's going, but it's like attached to the door just to fake him out. Because then in the next scene, when he opens the door and you see that the little thing's doing it, he runs by in the background. Oh, he's already in the house somehow. So he runs around the mansion, and he finds the room where Francis is taking his bath. His bath is in a large swimming pool with a bunch of toys, and he's playing with his toys. Pee-wee gets in there, he jumps in the water, he goes over there, and he pulls Francis out by his hair, and he's like, where's the bike? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Their doorman servant guy busts down the door, and the dad character walks in, Francis's dad, and he's like, what are you doing? My son would never do anything like that. Look at his little face. And he's like, and Pee-wee's like, I'm sorry I broke in and assaulted your son while he's in the bath. I really apologize. Would you like some gum? And then Pee-wee leaves, and it turns out it's joke gum. One of them was like ink, and one of them was like a stinky gum. So like the dad got like stink mouth, and Francis got like a bunch of like black ink dripping down his face. One in the ink, one in the stink. So then Pee-wee puts up some reward posters. There's a $10,000 reward if you find the bike. And Pee-wee even says later, I'm not gonna pay them the money. If they bring the bike, then they're obviously the ones who stole it. Then he gets a bunch of like the neighborhood people and his friends and everybody around because he's suspicious of everyone. He gets them in a basement. And then he's like, Exhibit A, a picture of me and my bike. Exhibit B, a picture of me without my bike. Exhibit C, a pen that I just bought. What's the significance? I don't know. And he's like losing it. And then he uses this weird metaphor about how he can't figure this out. The story is like a cable knit sweater that someone, you're trying to unravel it, but someone just keeps on knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting. I always loved that line. I love so many lines. I think this is a really quotable movie. Then the girl that likes him, Dottie, tries to tell him something to calm him down, and he says something dickish to her, and then runs out into the rain and walks down like creepy streets, and it's all rainy, and there's like a group of guys, and they're like, hey, what are you doing out here? It's our turf. And he's like, and they're like, whoa, and they run away. Since Pee-wee put out the reward posters, he freaks out because he did actually steal the bike or hire people to take the bike. So he is actually telling some gangster dude, some like greaser, he looks like he's out of grease. He's like, get rid of the bike. I don't care what you do with it. Just get rid of it. He goes to a psychic to try and figure it out. And he's like, first answer, tell me something about myself so I know that you're a real psychic. She's like, you're here because you want something. And he's like, and he takes all the money out of his wallet and just gives it to her. It's just a bunch of crumpled up like ones and some change. But she also takes his wallet and she starts like looking through his wallet, sees a picture of him and the bike. And he's like, you want a bike? Something about a bike. He's like, how did you know? Where is it? She's just making shit up. She looks out the window and she still sees like a car repair place and it's called like Al and Moe's. And she's like, it's at the Alamo. In the basement of the Alamo. Oh my god, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. So then he's out on the road. He's got one of those bindles, the sticks with the pack of shit on the end of it. And he's got a sign in the shape of Texas. And he's out on the side of the road trying to hitch a ride. Eventually, a really cool looking car shows up. And he's like, get in. So Pee-wee gets in. And the guy has handcuffs on, like broken handcuffs on his hands, and Pee-wee's looking at him while he's like turning the wheel. And there's an interesting moment I didn't notice until this last rewatch. When Pee-wee asks him what he did, he almost says something, and then he kind of stops himself, and then he says, those little tags that say "do not remove" on mattresses? Well, I cut it off. I'm a real bad guy. But I always thought that was part of the thing. I thought he actually did that, and that was just one of the Pee-wee jokes or something. But I think he actually did some bad stuff and that just didn't want to say out loud because it's supposed to be like Pee-wee's was a kid's thing for a while. While Pee-wee's talking to the guy, you see his bike go by on a truck with a bunch of other stuff. You see it go by in the background. He's not looking. And their car goes this way and the bike goes that way. So he's going to Texas. That bike's going somewhere else. So they come to one of those like police blockade things in the road. The guy pulls out a gun. Pee-wee says, no, man, don't do it like that. I have an idea. So Pee-wee dresses like a woman, and the criminal guy puts on like a mustache and a beard or something. So the cop comes over and talks to him, and Pee-wee's pretending like he's the guy's wife. He's like, ha, oh honey, ha. Whatever. The cop says like, step out of the car for a minute, Pee-wee in drag. He's like, what did you want from me, officer? So, I just wanted to take a look at that nice dress you're wearing. Pee-wee's like, take a picture, it'll last longer. And that's another one of those lines. Take a picture, it'll last longer. I don't know if that's where that started or if that was already a thing. There's just so many interesting quotes. The criminal guy lets Pee-wee drive so he can sleep. He's in the passenger seat. Pee-wee's driving. It's nighttime, like pitch black. And Pee-wee's starting to get a little tired. And he passes by a road sign that says, like, curvy road up ahead. And then the next one's like, super curvy road. And the next one's like, weird curvy road that doesn't make any sense. So he's just like in the dark, just going. He ends up flying off a cliff, and the guy wakes up, and they're both freaking out.